will also be posting this recording in the Digital World Biology YouTube channel and making it available to hackathon participants. And I will put a link so you can find it in Zoom, so you can access it from Zoom later on if there's anything you want to review. And I'll post the slides that I had made to in Zoom as well. Okay, so I'm going to
Do you
go
mean Zoom or Slack?
Slack. Thank you. You know, they all start to sound alike after a while. But yeah, they'll be in Slack. All right. So let me share my screen here. And then I'll find this, and I will. Okay, there we go. All right. Well, welcome everybody to the Antibodies Engineers Hackathon 2025. As you already know, you're here for the orientation. And before I go any farther, I want to be sure I introduce everybody, the people who are who are really responsible for getting this all up and going and more. I'm Sandra Porter. I'm the principal investigator on this project, but I have co-PIs who've been doing a lot of work. Dr. Margaret Bryans, you're going to know her as Maggie. Dr. Todd Smith, who my husband also, who works with me at Digital World Biology. Dr. Sheila Vemu, who can't be here this summer, but will be, you may be seeing her later on. You never know. Dr. Erin Kamajaya. And also, I didn't put them on the slide, but Dr. Alyssa Dillman, who has kind of our inspiration for doing hackathons, and she is has her own company, but also works at Montgomery College, and she has I think ran over 50 hackathons probably by this point, and she's been a great help to us and really indispensable. Our funding for this project comes from the National Science Foundation Advanced Technological Education Program. But we are also this year getting some funding from Innovate Bio. Yeah, really. I'm telling the dog has opinions about this as well. I apologize in advance for dog and cat interruptions. Not much I can do about that. Let's continue. Oh, there we go. So what are we going to talk about today? Today, I want to go over just some of the expectations. People have some interesting preconceived ideas about hackathons, but they're not as set in stone as you might think. So I'll talk about what is a hackathon, what will we do, what are some misconceptions, so what won't we do. I'll go over the schedule briefly, talk about communications and the tools we'll be using, and I'll probably mix them all up, so Todd can help me with that. Just briefly mention some of the projects, and then we can go through and answer some of your questions. So what is a hackathon? Well, it is an event, and teams work together to make products. Okay, so we're all going to be producing things, and we have a very short amount of time. So some of that should set your expectations. We're not going to change the world in 4 days, but we're going to get a lot done. And we have been very productive with the hackathons, which I'll show you a little bit maybe in a moment. But what are our products? Our products for these hackathons are the research projects that might be done by undergraduate students, either in a course so course-based research or independent student projects. The students might be at community colleges, they might be universities, they might be four-year colleges, but they can work on the projects that we kind of catalyze through the 4 days we're going to be working together. So what do they need for those projects? They will need some protocols, they will need data sets, supporting materials, and through this, we don't just develop research projects, we also build community. And a lot of us get to know each other over the years working together on these projects. And social capital, which is you can meet you can connect with each other on LinkedIn. You can talk with each other. I've written recommendation letters for people who've participated in the hackathon, as I'm sure some of the other team leaders have too. But you get to know each other, and that's a good thing. So back to those research projects. What's involved in a research project? Well, every research project has to have some kind of question that you're trying to answer, right? What are you researching? So you need a research goal or question. You need to identify the kinds of data that you're going to be looking for. For us, a lot of that data can be found on the web, which is great. So we may be building data sets. We are going to be using some different tools. There are laboratory reagents that some of our teams use, but for some teams, their tools are software and websites. So we have some different tools that we use to explore research questions. We might need instructions, or we can learn how to use ChatGPT to make instructions for us. Oh, Dylan has done it. It can be done. And Todd has been doing some of that too. But what instructions are we going to need for what we're going to do? Because as scientists, we want to be consistent. We want our work to be reproducible, and instructions go a long way to making that work and helping that. So we also need to know, what are we going to track and record during the project, and what questions remain afterwards. So we'll be working on that. But now I want to talk about what our hackathon is not. So hackathons are all different depending on the groups that are organizing them and the goals they're trying to accomplish. This hackathon does not require coding. However, there are teams that are using coding. So some teams are using coding, some are not. This hackathon is not a competition. Our goal is to collaborate. We work together on projects, and our goal in part is to learn how to work together on projects. We do not require deep expertise. You don't need to be an expert on everything to be participating. You don't necessarily need to do lab work to do research. And, there may be there's not travel here, but hackathons can be virtual. What do they require, though, is they require time. So we do expect you to commit 4 days full time. I know that's not an easy thing to do, but that's what we're going to need, and that's going to help you get the most out of this experience. They do require communication, and you're going to find a lot of that. When are the teams meeting? What is everybody expected to do? How are they going to be accountable to each other and work together? We do expect you to participate. We expect you to prepare, and we expect you to work together, and there has to be some organization, which we'll learn about a little bit as well. So here is a brief part of the schedule. There are more details in the schedule, but as you already know, all of you have been assigned to a team. You all have Slack accounts. I'll get to Slack in just a minute. So here's the 4 days that we're working. Monday is kind of our day where the teams are going to be working together to figure out who's going to be doing what and what your team is going to do. We have team leader meetings. Actually, there isn't one on Tuesday, but I need to update this a little bit. There isn't one on Tuesday, but we have team leader meetings on Monday and Wednesday to talk about expectations for the teams and presentations. So Tuesday, the whole group meets and the teams present what they're going to try to accomplish. Wednesday, the whole group meets and the teams present any kinds of problems that they're having and ask questions. And then Thursday, the teams have their final presentations, and we're going to hear what the teams have all created and the projects they've come up with. Some other things that happen, we are going to have guest speakers on Tuesday and Wednesday. There is a writers meeting on Tuesday. So each team will have a writer who records what the team is working on and what the team comes up with. And this should be changed here a little bit, because one of the new things we're going to do this year is we're going to have a speed networking session on Tuesday. One request that we got from people from previous years is they wanted a chance to meet people from other teams. And so during that speed networking session, you're going to have that chance. This will be a new thing for us, but I think it'll be very interesting. The other thing about the schedule I want to point out is that Thursday, at the end of the day, there is a survey that I will need you to complete. When you complete the survey, you can get a badge to put on your LinkedIn profile or your resume or whatever, showing that you were a participant or a team leader, and in case you were doing that. And we can have a brief discussion about things that you've learned and things that you would like and things that might change and be different in the future. Okay, so each team will have a Zoom breakout room. This year, we're going to do something a little bit different with the breakout rooms. I'm going to try to have the breakout rooms open almost 24/7, which doesn't mean you need to be there 24/7. I will, though, need at some point at the end of each day to stop Zoom, and so I can get the videos and post the videos and then reset up the rooms. But I will let you know roughly when that will be and warn you. And it'll be a brief time, just maybe half an hour or so. Each team has a Slack channel, which we'll go through in just a minute. Each team has a folder in Google. And as I mentioned before, I'll be posting all the guest speaker videos and presentations on YouTube. They won't all be accessible to the public. Our presentations that we do, our teams, and then today's, those are just hackathon participants, but all the guest speaker ones will be.
Sandy,
Yeah.
what time zone? Since you got times here, what time zone are you communicating in?
Yeah, I'll get, I'm going to come back to the schedule in just a moment, Todd, and
Okay.
I'll talk about the time zone in a minute. Good question, though. Okay, so I mentioned our meetings are in Zoom. Oh yeah, that's why I put down 5 to 5:30 Pacific is when I'll close them down to get the videos and then reopen them. Most of our communication goes through Slack. I said we have a Google folder. Some teams have GitHub repos as well, so you can access those and see that's where a lot of the code is. Okay, all of our team leaders, I think I'm going to stop this for a minute and maybe we can have our team leaders introduce themselves, and then we'll go on to talking more about the schedule and the time zone. So I'm going to call in team leaders to make this a little bit easier. So Maggie, why don't you start?
Hi everyone, I'm Maggie Brines. I lead the biotechnology program at Montgomery County Community College in Pennsylvania. I was formerly the principal investigator of NBC2, which was a NSF ATE Center for Biomanufacturing. So the projects I've been working on have been biomanufacturing based, and the last two projects the last 2 years, hackathons, I should say, many projects came out of them, was based on a new cell line called NISCHO. And we're hoping to continue that this year with lots of different ideas for going forward with NISCHO. So we'll have a lot to talk about. Thanks, Sandy.
Thanks, Maggie. Thomas, why don't you introduce yourself and tell people what you're working on?
Hi, I'm Thomas Honorato from LaGuardia Community College in New York City, part of the CUNY City University of New York. I'm a professor of biology, and I now coordinate and teach SCB 101, its topics in biology for non-majors, and I'm in the process of also revising the whole course to go through curriculum. So in the past, for the last several hackathons, I was looking at C-star proteins because my research was in reproductive cell biology. And as I'm rediscovering myself and the next phase of my career as I age, I'm looking into more data science and to mix data science and microscopy and music. And so Nature's Bards, which has evolved from my Econonerds work, is we're going to look at using data sonification and seeing how we could identify nanobody antigen binding from existing nanobodies and adapt it to still echinoderm proteins, like from sea stars, and using sound to see if we could identify patterns to then maybe be able to use existing antibodies or modify them to detect echinoderm proteins. That's the focus of this hackathon work.
Cool. Okay, Lori.
Hi, I'm Lori Kelman. I teach biotechnology at Montgomery College in Germantown, Maryland. I've been a participant before, but am helping out Maggie, I hope, this year. I'm probably the closest to where the NISCHO cells are stored, and that's most of my expertise, but looking forward to it.
Thanks, Lori. And Todd.
Yeah, Todd Smith, Digital World Biology, and I've been in software and software engineering for 30 years. Background in medicinal chemistry, but I had a software company for 14 years, Geospiza, and we did data management systems. So for DNA sequencing, and I've been very interested in antibodies and how they bind and generative AI. So what we're going to do is we're going to use an implementation of RF diffusion called RF antibody to create new kinds of nanobodies to various proteins, GFP being one model, and then also maybe some therapeutic proteins. And the other aspect, Eric Olson isn't here, but to look at, gene expression kinds of things. So he's a gene expression expert and gene expression software, and works at a company that is looking at kidney therapeutics. So what's the role of the immune system in kidney cancers is maybe a topic we might explore. So that's kind of the two projects that'll be going on in our group.
Great. Melanie.
Hi, everybody. I'm Melanie Stegman. I'm a biochemist that started making video games. And the game I started working on first was an immunology game. And I've made it's a top-down strategy where you buy a white blood cell, neutrophil, give it receptors. And game design is a research project. You have a goal, a learning goal, and you make a game, and then you test it and see if this player is learning what you wanted them to learn, which is how all games work anyway. You give the player something to do, give them a challenge. If they're not challenged, they're not engaged in the game anyway. Last year in the hackathon, we made a little poker game. We're going to continue working on it. And the poker game is unique because it follows the rules of antigen antibody interaction, basically just amino acid interaction. So we've got 5 different colors and they interact with each other, like positive and charged amino acids, hydrophobic amino acids, polar amino acids. It's kind of cute. It's kind of abstract. It's not, my normal game is more literal, but that is what we're going to work on. And we might come up with a couple of more games, depending on who joins. We might make some more game mechanics with the same deck of cards, or we might come up with a whole new game.
Thanks, Melanie. No, Arvin, there's a comment in chat saying that sounds so cool, and I think so too.
Awesome.
Okay, Dylan.
Okay, so I'm Dylan Bolsecco. I never know where I am. I'm currently in Hawaii, that's last night, but I live in Massachusetts. I work for a nonprofit there in Massachusetts, focused really on STEM ed technologies, education software. And I have 3 NSF grants in Hawaii right now, which is why I spend a lot of time here. So what we're going to work on is there's a team of 3 students in Hawaii and 1 student in Maryland. And we're going to look at at using large language models to see what we can develop in terms of a research assistant and mainly creating bioinformatics tools. And our focus will be on developing nanobodies. So where we're going to end up is where Todd's team is starting. We're hoping we get to RF diffusion or we get to RF antibody at the end of our project. And the idea is, can we use large language models to develop these tools? And we're going to look at alpha viruses, specifically chikungunya, E1, E2 epitopes, and look for broadly neutralizing nanobodies.
Cool. So you can see Thomas and Todd and Dylan have some similarities, and I'm hoping the three teams coordinate a little bit and talk to each other,
Yeah,
as you can all be learning from each other. Okay, Erica.
Hi, I'm Erica Lannon. I teach biology at Prairie State College, and that's a community college just outside of Chicago. In previous years, we were looking at the virus interaction with different antibodies, and could they escape possible neutralization by those antibodies? This year, I wanted to switch it up a little bit and look at cancer. So there are some cancers that are treated with immunotherapies, and to see, can we look at some of these mutations and possibly make predictions. Ideally, the goal is to create a project that students could look at some of these interactions and make predictions, make possible antibodies out there. Yeah.
No, the epitopes are pretty useful. I mean, we have some really effective cancer vaccines, right? Because of the work that's been done by people at La Jolla Institute for Immunology. And
right. And there's so many mutations that maybe they're escaping, and maybe we can work on that.
Yeah, there's a lot of exciting things going on. Okay, so now before I forget, I did want to talk a little bit more about the schedule and a little bit more about Slack. And so I'm going to share. There we go. Share our website at antibodyengineers.org. and go through the schedule in a little bit more detail. Okay, so as you've all applied, you probably all found this site. So we have the projects, we have a little bit more about team roles, some background reading, but the top thing here is the schedule. And I want to point out that right, here we are, 1 p.m. ET, that the schedule, a lot of the time zone here, I've put in Eastern time. Okay. I'll try to put, I'll use multiple time zones. I'm going to put the schedule into Slack as well, but I'll put more time zones in when I do that. So Monday, August 4th is when we'll have our kickoff day. That'll be 11 o'clock Eastern time. It is, that is 10 o'clock Central Time, 9 o'clock Pacific Time. Is that right?
8 o'clock
Pacific Time. Thank you. 8 o'clock Pacific Time. It's 9 o'clock Mountain Time. And Hawaii, Dylan, help me out here. You're muted.
It'll be 5 a.m. in Hawaii.
It'll be 5 a.m. Hawaii. So our Hawaii people may be a little bit late, but we understand. I was doing my best to group people by time zone in the teams as much as I could.
Yeah, this is always going to be a challenge. So, I mean,
Yeah.
we just do the best we can, I think.
Yep. Right. We do what we can. On Monday, what are we going to be doing? Monday, when everything starts, we'll talk a little bit about logistics again. We'll talk about what team roles are, the projects. We'll take a picture of everybody. And then the teams are going to get to work. Okay, you're going to be figuring out who's going to do what, who your writer is, really critical. Figure out, what work you're going to accomplish, and then we have a team leader meeting. Tuesday, which is starting, now it says 9 a.m. ET breakout rooms open, which is 6 o'clock Pacific time. That doesn't mean you have to be there at 6 o'clock Pacific time if you're on the West Coast. It just means that the rooms are open so people could get to work early. But actually, I'm going to probably have the rooms open 5:30 or so Monday night. So I think you'll be able to get there even earlier if you want to. We will have a couple guest speakers. We'll have our whole group meeting where the teams present what they're going to do. Then the team meetings will be working. There will be a writers meeting, and we have the speed networking from 3 to 4:30 p.m. And again, this is Eastern time here, but I will try to translate that into other time zones in the schedule that I post in Slack. Wednesday, kind of a similar thing, except it's mostly we have the guest speakers. People talk very briefly about any problems and ask questions. We've got the team meetings, team leader meeting, and then Thursday is our day for presentations. So that's the schedule. I will be posting it in Slack, but you can find it here too. I don't anticipate a lot of changes. But if there are any changes, I will let you know. And so where do you find these things in Slack? I know a lot of you have already logged in. Many of you have logins from previous years and may not have logged in yet, but you can use your previous emails in your previous logins. And Slack does have a lost your password kind of link that you can use to get a magic key that will let you log back into Slack. So you'll be able to do that. I'm going to just briefly show you Slack, and then we'll go through and answer any questions. So Slack, how does Slack work? Slack is like kind of a big forum. It's used by a lot of companies, so it's kind of good to get used to using tools like this, because a lot of companies use tools like Slack for remote work and for coordinating company work. All software companies, I think, probably use these kinds of tools. There are some channels where I have added everybody. One is the welcome channel, and the welcome channel has just some information about our funders. By the way, I do want to encourage everybody to go ahead and join Innovate Bio. It is a great group, and they are focused on biotechnology workforce education. So if you're not yet a member, you can go to innovatebio.org and you can sign up. It's free. Okay, other things in here, I have information about setting up your profile. I have a link, I have a code of conduct. I have a link for, how do I have a link for using Slack? Maybe not. Okay. Anyway, you've got information here about just what the channels are. So, announcements and schedule. This is where I'm going to be posting the schedule. By the way, you can, anything you want to keep track of, you can add a bookmark to save it for later to help you find it. There is this week a workshop that is free, put on by the group that operates CEDAR. If you want to go, you can still register. That's on Wednesday. They're going to go through and talk about using CEDAR to look at cancer epitopes, do a case study, and talk about how the database works. This is so anyway, this is where you'll find the schedule. Help desk. This is if you need help. Introductions. This is, I want you all to introduce yourselves so we get to meet each other a little bit virtually. Presentations. This is where I'm going to be putting links to the YouTube recording, and then we'll also have links to the presentations that people do from their teams. And then resources. There are always times when people want to share stuff with each other. Oh, I found this really neat thing and you should try it. So this is the place to share. Okay, the other thing we have here is each team has a channel. Now, I added you to your team's channel. You can add yourself to the channels from other teams if you want to listen in to see what they're doing, or you want to look at the resources that they are creating. For each team, I put a folder that says materials, and this links to a Google Drive where the team can have materials. There may not be anything there yet, but that's where you can access that. For some teams, I knew about papers that were related to their work, so I put papers in there, but their team leaders will be putting papers in as well. For some teams, like the antibodies and AI team, we have links to their GitHub repos. So if you want to see the code that they've been creating and see what they're working on, and then there's also some papers in there, you can see that as well. Okay, so how do you join another team's channel? Well, you can search for a channel here. So if I had antibodies and AI, I could find it, and then I could add myself. I could select that, and then I'm already a member of it, but there should be some sort of link where I could add myself to that channel. Okay, so you can add yourself to as many channels as you want. You might find that's too much, and you might find you don't want to do that, but that's up to you. All right. Any questions about Slack? Okay. Oh, one other thing about Slack. We're using the free version. Do not hit upgrade. Okay. I don't want anybody to get billed for anything. Okay, we're going to continue using the free version. What that also means, though, is that messages and things that we post in Slack, they're only available for 90 days. All right, so don't expect, you may be a member of Slack forever, but don't expect that your things that you post will be here forever. So if you find there's stuff you want to save and access later on, feel free to copy those links and download those papers to your own desktop. Okay. And, oh yeah, and direct messages, you can always message me on Slack, or again, the help desk. I'll be monitoring that as well. Actually, I monitor most of the Slack channels. All right, so now time for questions. Let me see what we have here. I guess some of them have been getting answered in Slack already. What other questions do you have? Or what questions do you have?
Sandy, I don't have a question, but just to add on to using Slack, I know that members of the team in the past have used the Slack huddle just to get together with one other member of the team if they're working on a project together. So I think that's a
Yes,
neat
Maggie.
aspect of Slack.
Thank you. Yes. So one thing that can happen is when, I don't know, 5 or 6 of you are in the same Zoom room, it can be hard to have conversations between 2 people. And so Slack has this cool feature called huddles. If you look up at the top here, there is a headphones. And how many people could be in a huddle, Maggie?
I think we've done 3, but no more than 3.
Okay. So like if you want to break off and a couple people are working on gathering data or something and they want to coordinate what they're doing, they could set up a huddle and talk to each other, which I think is a good thing.
Is that a rabbit?
Is that a rabbit?
I can't tell. It looks like a rabbit. Maybe it should be a hutch.
The huddle? It's just headphones.
Oh,
These
it's
are headphones. Yeah.
Okay.
And if
Yeah.
you're asking about the antibody icon, that's an antibody icon over in the corner, which I guess kind of looks like a rabbit because of the ear. It looks like it has ears.
It looks like a rabbit.
Yep. Well, those are the variable parts of the antibody, the business end where the antibody binds to things. Okay, I'm going to stop recording here.